Hello, everyone. My name's Nicole Ryan. I own a debt relief company called Lana Solutions, and I wanted to hop on here today and tell you a little bit about me and what I am getting started here. I have been wanting to do some type of either radio show, TV show, just something on a regular basis so that I could share privy information with you guys with regards to debt relief. So my name's Nicole Ryan, the company's Lana Solutions, and I'll tell you how it all got started. So in the early 2000s, I was blessed to start working in the collections industry. And for a girl like me, this was new for me. This was one of those things where it was like debt collectors. To even hear that name, people run. It's like they don't want anything to do with collections, nor should we. We all want to be able to pay our bills on time. But the truth of the matter is there's about 50% of Americans that are just not able to pay their debt, and they are living in some type of debt. And that might be you. Heck, it's actually been me several different times where I've had to dig myself out of debt. And I say all this because I want to make sure that this show is just a show of information and transparency and just being able to really remove fear. We have to be able to remove the fear. And being able to do that, we can start sitting down and we can really start looking at, okay, what are some of these things I've been afraid to open or even answer that phone call? So as a debt collector in the early 2000s, I was blessed to be able to speak with all of North America. So whether it be a celebrity, a widow, or just a single mother household, we spoke with everyone. And when I tell you, whether it was a telephone bill or a credit card debt or transportation finances, where there's your repos and different things involved. You guys, we even collected from the dead. And I hate to say it like that, but it's called deceased care collections. And this is where a loved one passes away. We literally look to see when they passed away so that 2 weeks or so later, we can contact the family concerning the estate. So when it comes to collections, I've been doing this for a very long time. So rather it be medical debt, student loans, just your regular credit card debt, I've had my hands in it. So what I decided to do, instead of just working for a company and going after consumers to pay their debts. And I don't want to say that in a mean way, you guys, because I'm like a liaison where I'm able to bridge the gap of collectors and the consumer. Because like I said, when you think of a debt collector, you think of a bad person, a mean person. But a lot of times it's not like that, you guys. We have a job to do. And in doing that job, sometimes it can get ugly because our job is to get our clients' money back. So we take that bad debt and we get it paid. And sometimes it can get ugly. So I wanted to do this show really as that liaison and give you the information, how to speak to collectors, some of the new rules, some of the laws as we get into the shows, and so many other things. And hopefully you'll be able to maybe just start writing in or contacting us. And by the way, anyone who does mention this station and that you did see me on here, I will speak with you for free. I do a lot of nonprofit work. And so for me, this is not about profit. However, Lana Solutions is a for-profit company. So keep in mind, if you do happen to call in and you do have questions and concerns, just know I will speak with you for free because I truly want to be able to help our community. So let me go on about me, because I want you to know and understand the heart of me and Lana Solutions, and it truly is to help people get out of debt and to help people think differently concerning their finances. So as I mentioned, I've been in the collection industry. I started in the early 2000s, and I was able to have my hands in working with any type of individual or even small businesses now that you can think of when it comes to debt, getting out of debt, credit education, finances. Not only did I do the debt collecting, but I was blessed to run a tax office for a few years. I got licensed as a life insurance and health and annuities producer for the state of Nebraska. I then dibbled and dabbled in a little bit of corporate accounting, and the list goes on and on. So now, 24 years later, you can probably imagine how many different clients, affiliates, networking opportunities that I have had over the decades that have been able to assist you now. And I can't keep this to myself. And I do get to bless my clients and different boards that I sit on and the workshops that I do. But I just feel like there's so many more people that I can reach and I can be able to be a blessing to. And that's you. So if you'll bear with me and just stroll with me through whatever this new chapter is in my life, one thing for sure, I want to make sure that each of you have the answers you need when it comes to your finances. Being in the collection industry in the early 2000s was different. We were collecting on, I don't know how many people remember Quest Communications. And even before then, it had another name. But this was just your regular telephone bill. At the time, there was no Cricket. There was no Boost. Sprint may have been around, but we were reaching out to people all over North America just trying to get them to pay a telephone bill. So imagine, fast forward 24 years later, and now some of the biggest debt is your student loans and your medical debt. The funny thing about the medical debt is that a lot of times this debt is not being paid because there was some mishandling of paperwork at some point, rather it be us or the billing department at hospitals and clinics. What I found in the medical arena here in Omaha, Nebraska, and some of our surrounding areas is that they have assistance for you. They have financial assistance, but they have a timeline. So you have to be able to speak with the right people when you're checking in to these doctor appointments, when you're checking out. You want to ensure that they do have your insurance information. And if you don't have insurance at the time, Omaha does a pretty good job at still allowing patients to come in, especially if it's an emergency. You just have to let them know that it is self-pay. Now, with medical and student loans being some of the largest debt out there nowadays, I think it's important that we take the time to get a better understanding of medical debt and student loans. And one easy way to do that is just Google information about medical debt and student loans. Not even that, if you have a particular hospital that you go to or a clinic, for most of us here in Omaha, Nebraska, it's CHI. Find out about their financial assistance. Don't be afraid to compare insurance rates. Don't be afraid to ask questions concerning the debt. Are there payment plans? I can go on and on. The same thing goes for the student loans. Now, right now, with everything in the arena around student loans and everything that Biden has been trying to do for forgiveness of student loans and different income-driven repayment plans, if you don't know what you're doing, Google some of this stuff. Go to one of the .gov websites where they're talking about the federal student loans and the paybacks. One thing I want you to know and understand with both of these, there are different plans that will work for you and your family. for the time being. With student loans, they have it where you can do different types of forbearances. A lot of people don't know that after 36 months of forbearances with student loans, cumulatively, you tap out. And then you get put in a situation where you have to make payment. And that time runs out pretty quick if you've continuously pushed it out year after year after year. And guess what else? The interest rate starts to add up very quickly. And I know for some of you, now that this whole forbearance with the COVID has passed, and you've been put in a position to not only have a new servicer for your student loans, but you also have to start paying on them again. This is hitting a lot of households quickly, and we're starting to see the credit card balances rise again. Just know that if you're on the SAVE plan, that plan stops the interest rate. That's the income-driven repayment plan that stops the interest rate. And I repeat that because some of you are on 0 payments, but your interest rate is racking up so fast that even though you have a 0 payment income-driven repayment plan, it just doesn't make good sense. So please take the time. Don't only speak with your new servicer, and some of you may still have the same servicer like Nelnet, but you need to make sure you have an understanding of what you're paying and why you're paying it. And if you were anything like me, back in the old days, I'll say, for me it was the 90s, there weren't a lot of laws, rules, regulations around student loans. So I went in as this happy camper, getting my undergraduate degree at the time, and found out my one student loan that pretty much paid for everything got broke off into like 2 or 3 different banks had purchased my loan. And instead of paying my small $150 a month payment that I thought I could just make a minimum payment for however long it took to get this undergraduate degree paid for, I found out I would be paying that 150 times 3. So if this sounds like something you're experiencing and you have multiple student loans, and sometimes, remember earlier how I talked about the fear and removing the fear? That right there is enough to back you up into a corner and say, hey, look, I've gone from paying $150 now to several hundred dollars a month. And at the time I was young and that appeared to be a lot for me. So I can imagine what you're experiencing now. That was in the 90s. It's 2024 now. So I want you to do your homework and don't take advice from anyone without bumping it up against facts and realizing that each lender has rules and regulations that you can study yourself. Just like the SAVE plan that I'm telling you about for student loans. Don't take my word for it. Pull up the SAVE plan, SAVE, and read it and study it, and then contact your servicers and speak with them with an understanding of what you're talking about. I know a lot of people that are not in the financial industry, sometimes they just don't want to take the time, but you're hurting yourself by not taking the time to kind of study yourself approved. And there are so many entities out here like Lana Solutions that even though we're for profit, we will sit down and we will speak with you and we will direct you to different avenues that will even work with you for free. And one that I can think of that is all over the state of Nebraska is your Consumer Credit Counseling Services. That is a nonprofit organization that you can contact. They do training. They give a ton of free information around credit and savings and so much more. So keep that one in mind. And even when you reach out to some of these entities like Nelnet, who does the servicing for student loans, if you go to their website, they also provide a ton of information. If you don't get anything out of my introductory today, please get that you do not have to be afraid of debt, and that if you take the time and work with the right companies and the right people, it's a process that you can become debt-free, you can live debt-free, and you can manage your purchases. And you can put yourself in a position where you don't have to run around afraid because you're working so much and it seems like nothing is ever being paid. Know that I know and I understand and I can relate to almost any situation you're dealing with. So rather we were collecting from family members who just lost loved ones, we were calling the widow who just lost her husband to cancer. We were reaching out to the single mom who wasn't able to pay her rent and was getting ready to be homeless, and so much more. So what I decided to do after working in the collection agency for about a decade, I was able to move up into management and have these backroom private conversations with banks on behalf of you, the consumer, and how they were able to get their money back. One thing you'll find out about banks is that they make money as you make money. So they're not trying to put you in a position to not be able to pay your bills. They truly sit back in these boardrooms and meetings and they try to work out ways to help assist you to get you to pay your bills. And yes, we can be coerced even at a young age to start getting credit cards and start getting in debt. But if you learn how to manage it, you can actually have a good portion of debt that will benefit you and give you a return on your investment. And I know that may sound crazy, and it's not for everyone. I'm a big believer that we are lenders and not borrowers. But I also understand the ways, of right now too. And there are people and circles you can connect to that can teach you how to do it the right way. So if you get anything about Nicole with Lana Solutions, once again, know that I have a heart for people and I'm removing the fear from debt and even your credit. So in collections, the biggest thing is you got a collector, they got to get their goals met. When they're calling you, just know that there is kind of tunnel vision. There's one thing on our mind, and that is, hey, and I'm just using this as an example. I'm collecting for American Express or Citibank, right? I have a goal that I have to meet by the end of the month, or I can lose my job. So when I'm calling you to pay your bill, the best thing you can do for me is just be honest. And when you're honest and you say, hey, Nicole, I can't pay that this month because I spent too much last month. I bought things maybe I shouldn't have bought. I don't have a budget. We can help you and we can assist you and even let you know about different programs and different ways to try to come up with the money to pay your bill. What happens when you're working with a lot of collectors is that we're not being honest. We're hanging up. We're not answering our phone. We're not opening our mail. The best thing you can do for someone you owe money today is remove the fear and just speak with them. And if you can't speak with them, just write them a letter. But whatever you do, be honest. Because I assure you, by the time it gets to court and they're trying to garnish you, that's when it's almost too late, because you have no paper trail of ever trying to work with someone you promised you would pay the money back. So let's keep that in mind. And also, another thing that can kind of trip us up is if we go into like this victim mentality. Life is lifing for all of us. And whether I'm going into the mansions out in Elkhorn or I'm just in the lower income areas with the mother who gets government assistance, Everyone at every level at some point is going through something. That's why when I teach my workshops with the kids, I want them to realize, look at these celebrities. They're filing bankruptcy too. So we have to take a step back and we have to be like, okay, I'm not making enough money to pay my rent, to buy groceries. Why is that? One of the number one reasons is because we haven't managed our expenses and our income. And we have to sit back, and I know we talk budget, budget, budget. You can't even get to a budget until you know exactly what you have coming in and exactly what you have going out. So with Lana Solutions, we normally sit down and we comb through that. So whether we're doing it for free for a nonprofit, like the fabulous Chariots for Hope, which helps remove transportation barriers, we are sitting down and we're doing our work, we're doing our homework, we're trying to figure out, okay, how come I can't pay my rent? How come I can't pay for life insurance? How come I can't pay for groceries? And a lot of times, you guys, I hate to say it, but it's us. And it's us thinking that we have to have a bigger house. We have to have a new car. We have to have the latest clothing. We have to have the newest cell phone. And we don't. The best things in life are free. And if you take the time and you celebrate where you are right now, if that means I gotta go shop at Goodwill, or me and the kids gotta have peanut butter and hot dogs for a little while, or maybe, depending on what level you are, go to this pantry, we have to suck it up and we have to take the time to celebrate where we are right now. We're living, we're breathing, and even if we have a little income coming in, we gotta manage that. We gotta manage that. And for some of us, I've seen on so many occasions, it may be filing for bankruptcy, but that's okay because you can even learn from that. But what you don't want to do is file for bankruptcy and then 7 years later end up doing it again and again and again. I'm so passionate about finances, debt relief, and helping people with credit education that I can go on and on. But let's talk about some of our numbers right here in the state of Nebraska. So the average household income, it can vary significantly. But right now, just even in the United States, the average household income is $70,000. And that may vary because these numbers are from 2022. But I want you to keep that in mind. That's the average income. Our average monthly expenses, they can range anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000. Now, you know, these are 2 years ago. Think about the average household now. It's jumped because of inflation like $1,000. So I assure you, just from having my hands in it, even though my GPT chat is grabbing from 2022, 2024, there has been a $1,000 increase. You're looking more at about $3,000 a month on the average expenses. And that goes for your housing, our utilities, our transportation, our health care, our child care, the insurance we have to have, and the entertainment, savings, retirement. I haven't even got into estate planning, you guys. There's so many different categories of expenses. That's why you have to sit down and you have to write down your, at least, if anything, your traditional expenses, your rent, your utilities, your phone, your automobile. If anything, take the time after reviewing this show with me and write that down so you know what your debt to income ratio is. And some of you may have a deficit, and if you do, you got to do one or two things. You're going to have to bring in some more earned income, or you're going to have to cut back on your spending. Our riches are in our scraps. If you don't know where your pennies, your nickels, and your dimes and your quarters are at, you're not ever going to know where your money is going so that you can start to invest it and get a return on your investment. Keep that in mind. As of the most recent data from the U.S. Census Bureau, there is about 10% of Omaha's population living in poverty. Now, these numbers are only based on 480,000. I know from just having my hands in it, we've almost doubled that. So this is 50,000 people. It's saying 50,000. The last time I checked, let's just say Omaha, Nebraska, and the surrounding areas, there's almost 1 million people. So I know for sure there's over 900,000. And if that was 10% in 2022, you guys, we're looking at almost 100,000 people in poverty here, right here in Omaha and the surrounding areas. And that doesn't even include our homeless people, you guys. We got to do better. And in doing better, we are going to have to keep an eye on our expenses and the income. And we can blame it on the pay rate. We can blame it on whatever we want. But if you really sit down and you start to take advantage of your household, things start to get better. Things start to turn around. And then you can see that going to Starbucks every day, spending $5 to $10, you could be using that extra money to create generational wealth, like life insurance. That way, when you pass, you're able to leave your family a legacy, a little piece of wealth, so they don't have to keep starting over generation after generation. My name is Nicole Ryan. You can follow me on social media platforms under Lana Solutions. So whether it be TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, you'll find me, Instagram, where I am constantly sharing information like this. And I'm hoping that this TV show is a fresh start to start helping you get out of debt and get more credit education so that you can live debt-free right here in Omaha, Nebraska and the surrounding areas. It's your girl, Nicole Ryan with Lana Solutions, your finance advocate.